Okay, I'm ready.
Ready. All right. So the last we left off, you were planning your journey back, and you had just finished partaking of uh, dinner with the two members of the Glimmerglass clan that you have so far met. And they had led you to the front door and taught you how to access it if you come back by yourself, so that you won't have to actually need one of the family members there. And then they closed the door behind you and wished you well on your journey back to town. And it is now early evening. So it'd be after dinner time. So you figure it would be something like 6 p.m., somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay.
And you also have the bundles of vegetation that Goldrin had given you. That he tells you acts something like a smudge stick, which will repel fireface crabs. So
How's the wind going right now?
Still north to south.
Okay, so this is good. As long as it doesn't go the other way, it's the worst that could happen.
I'm going to jump out of frame real quick. I just need to grab my bag of dice. It's right to my left here. So I'll be right back. Let's me disappear.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, I have the standard
Yeah.
Crown Royal bag.
Yep.
I'll put that right there within easy arm's reach.
I have one behind me too. You need a lot of dice to fill that thing up.
Yes.
They're huge.
It takes quite a few, yeah.
I have a armor bag thing. Yeah, chain link.
I like those also. I know one of my friends actually learned how to make chainmail things. So he made his own chainmail dice bag.
That's cool. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. He took an extension class somewhere or something. I don't know. So he learned it somewhere. All right, so that's where you are currently. You're standing outside of the Glimmerglass Lighthouse at the head of the trail that leads back into town. And from when you came out here, you know it's going to be somewhat slightly longer than a 2-hour hike back.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a rolling downhill slope from what I remember. How's the temperature?
So it's cooled off a bit. You are still getting, especially with the breeze, the sea breeze is just as strong as it was earlier, but now the sun isn't directly overhead beating down on you. So it's quite a bit cooler.
Okay. We are going to trot.
Okay. Try to make good speed back.
Let's do it intermittently. So I'm resting every once in a while because I don't want to be tired, because that's still a decent amount of running for my tiny little legs, but I want to move faster.
Okay. So Monty would have no trouble with that. So really, he's just kind of waiting for you most of the time.
Dogs.
So you managed to you move faster than you're really accustomed to. It's going to take a little bit out of you, but it shouldn't be too bad. You're probably gonna feel it tomorrow.
Hopefully, but I will be resting and eating donuts by tomorrow. That's the plan.
So you as you continue on your journey, nothing really untoward catches your eye, but you know roughly where the wreck of the boat is, and you're getting close. You know you're getting closer. So you and Monty, at your accelerated pace, continue along the. If you remember, the trail runs at the top of a short of a bluff that drops down about 3 or 4 feet in most places, right down to the beach, and then it goes right into the ocean, or into the harbor.
Yep.
The bay at that point. Make a perception check.
Say, I don't want to stomp past there. That wouldn't be safe. 19, so that's a 21.
Okay. So you do notice after a time, initially you're kind of concentrating on keeping your pace up, but eventually you kind of get a rhythm going and you kind of begin to notice your surroundings a little bit more. And you notice that those ships that were keeping station at the mouth of the harbor earlier, they're not there anymore.
Okay.
And continue on. And with that 21 perception check, you don't have any trouble spotting ahead in the distance the exact location of the wrecked fishing boat that you had encountered earlier. It's
Mhm.
you pinpoint it right away as soon as it comes in. As soon as you get close enough for it to come into view, it's right there. It's popped right up on your radar. You're on top of it, and you can see it. You don't see any movement. You don't see any signs of the crab being out currently, but you do see the hull, the wrecked hull, from where you are, and you're good. From here, you're on a slight rise, so you've got a good view off. It's a good 200 yards away at this point when you spot
Okay. Does I probably can't see a lot of detail because I'm so far away, and I'm gonna stay that way.
it. Okay.
Can I see any indentations that might be new around the ship though?
Not really. Nothing seems to have changed too much from this distance. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to see
Yeah.
anything has changed.
It would all look the same basically because it's sand.
Yep. It looks the same. Yep.
All right. We're gonna keep going.
All right.
And maybe the crab's gone. That would make everybody's day.
Do you keep going forward at your accelerated pace?
No, I'm gonna be slow until it's probably until maybe 700 yards past where I'd be able to see the wreck. I want to go slow.
Okay, so you're gonna actually try and go past it first.
Yes, I'm gonna go do slowly. I don't really stealth, but I'm gonna try to like give the wide berth on the side. Even though I know the crab can't see me, I know the crab is somewhere probably.
Okay, but you're
I'm
going
gonna
to
ready my spear just in case.
okay. So you're going to attempt to walk past it if that's possible. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So you continue along. You slow down considerably, and you begin moving much more carefully, trying to be much more alert than you were. And you continue along, and the shipwreck gets closer and closer. Monty kind of senses your caution a little bit, and you can kind of see him. He's kind of creeping along very carefully, putting one paw in front of another as he walks alongside you. And you can kind of see him sniffing. And he's got his head on a swivel, and he's just looking around, raising his snout up, sniffing the sea breeze constantly. You can tell he's quite alert as well. You get within probably 90 feet or so, and you don't think you've made any like loud noises or anything like that. You think you're probably blending in with sort of the ambient sounds of the area pretty well. And Monty comes to a sudden halt, and he seems to have caught his attention uh, in roughly the direction of the shipwreck, which is now kind of to your left and ahead a little bit. So it's kind of so if you were heading if you were heading at 12 o'clock, it would be about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And he's kind of focused on something in that direction, and it's pretty much right where the shipwreck is. And he stops in the trail and is like intently focused in that direction.
I'm gonna get on the ground.
Okay.
Yep.
Lay down prone.
And kind of like crawl to see if I could like see like the edge of like where the beach is. I'm small,
Okay.
they won't be able to see me. And I'm up a little bit, so
Yep. You're up on the rise a little bit. And yeah, that's no problem. If you get down low, you're actually lower than some of the sand grasses, the sea grasses that grow in the sea. You're kind of crawling through this low scrub and these grasses. And it actually seems like it would conceal you pretty well. And Monty kind of gets down to it and kind of
He's the cutest.
sort of imitates you. He's kind of crawling along on his belly a little bit. And you hear him kind of just give a couple of little whimpers.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell are we doing? And so he's following along next to you. Yep. And you get to a point where you can peek out between some clumps of these sand grasses, right at the edge of this low bluff that drops down to the beach. And you look out, and you're probably maybe 60 or 70 feet away from the shipwreck at this point. So from here, you do notice that the sand around the shipwreck has been kind of gouged up quite a bit more than when you were here last. There's a lot of scrapes and drags and gouges just all over surrounding the wreck of the fishing boat. You still don't see any movement or anything like that.
Am I, just so that we're clear, I'm not approaching just the ship straight on. I'm still following the path to get back to town, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right.
You're still on the trail, which is at the top of this low rise, and the shipwreck is on the beach itself.
So that would mean that the crab, if there's a crab around here, which we know, I'm whispering to Monty. If there was a crab around here, it would be close to us, Monty. Were they big enough to be able to hide in the grasses?
Looking around at the grasses around you, no freaking way.
Okay.
They're way too big to hide in these grasses.
All right.
They would stick out like a sore thumb unless they're like crabs that dig into the sand, then maybe, but just hiding in the grasses, there's no way they could pull that off.
Is there any chance that one of the crabs could be towards the right side of the path, which is away from the water?
So
based on the terrain.
There could be, but the other side, so if you're looking at the map, you're kind of on this sort of peninsula of land that sticks out. And the other side of it, so the water on the other side of it from where you are, so in other words, the part that is not on the bay, but on the open ocean on the other side, is a good ways away.
Okay.
So for the crab to be on your other side, it would have to be quite a distance from water. So you kind of feel confident that it's probably not, it probably stays close to the water.
All right. So I am going to take a bundle of this grass and a flaming thing.
Okay.
And like have my spear at my side, and I'm going to tell Monty to trot ahead following the path and then to wait for me and see what happens. And then I have the grass ready just in case something decides to pop out of the weeds. And then I'll follow.
Monty will go ahead willingly, no problem. Yeah, I would assume you have like some flint and steel or something like that.
Yep, it's in my backpack.
Yep. So yeah, you can light, you can probably light a torch or something, or whatever you've got that's flammable, a piece of rag, whatever,
yeah, and
have that ready. It takes you a minute because it's a little challenging to get the fire going in the kind of the sea wind that's coming through, but you manage it. It just takes you a couple minutes to do it as well. And so you've got that in one hand, and you've got the smudge stick that Goldrin gave you in the other hand. And Monty has gone on ahead. At this point you don't see Monty anymore because you had your head down, and it took you a couple minutes to actually light the fire. And in that time, he's gone off, and you don't have him in view anymore.
Huh. All right. So I want to make sure that if I burn the substance that I have enough for the way back.
So yeah, he gave you the small chest that he gave you. He told you that it's got, if you just take like a gnome's fistful worth, and burn that, there will be several doses in that.
All right, so why not? I'll just use what I got, and if things look like they're quiet-ish, I will walk
Okay.
after where Monty is.
Okay. Are you lighting it yet, or are you gonna wait until you need to?
It's probably windy, I'm gonna guess, because we're by the ocean.
Yep.
And there's probably not a way that I can like maintain a torch or a rag being wet. You know what? Yeah, I'll light the smudge stick and everything, and because if it's gone, I'll just grab another one. But as soon as I'm far enough away from that the boat site, I'm gonna run again. So
You're gonna start running once you get past.
once I get like 600 yards past it,
Okay.
I'm not gonna diddle dally. I got things to do.
Okay. So you start walking, and as you go ahead and you bring your flame to the smudge stick, we'll call it, for lack of another term that Goldrin gave you, and it catches readily enough, and it kind of burns a little bit. There's some orange flame that kind of catches on it, and it burns and it burns, and then this gout of steam comes off of it, and it's almost like it's kind of almost similar to a firecracker, like a, what do they call the ones that sparklers?
Sparklers.
Similar to a sparkler. It starts giving off. It doesn't make like a huge crack or explosion, but it starts hissing and giving off some light, and this plume of not really smoke. It almost seems more like steam. It's white, and you can actually see like ripples of the heat wave through the air, kind of projecting off into this long plume that rises up in the air, gets caught in the sea breeze, and kind of gets drawn out into a long ribbon of this whitish smoke with these heat distortions kind of rising off of it. And you're kind of like, ah! And you kind of stretch your arm out almost in trepidation at first.
Right.
Oh my God, what am I holding in my hand?
Mm-hmm.
As you do, the plume of smoke just rises up into the air, and then the sea breeze catches it, and it kind of levels out and just drawn out into this long ribbon that just goes out to sea. And you keep walking, and you're kind of holding the flaming brand to one side as you go, and you begin to get closer and closer, almost drawing even with the wreck of the fishing boat, and you're getting closer and closer, more and more even, and the smoke begins to waft over the ruins of this fishing boat. And almost immediately you hear this huge scrabbling, scratching, creaking and cracking of wood, and like a shot out of the other side, the water side of the hull, which where you crawled over to find the tooth, a fire-faced crab almost launches out of the hole that the opening in the hull that you had seen on the other side, almost damn near goes airborne and dives into the water. Splash, huge splash of water, and immediately sinks with just this mass of froth and bubbles around it. And this fountain of water jets up into the air as the mass of this crab impacts the water. And you just see this, and the steam and the white plume of smoke just kind of washes over the wreckage, and you just keep going, and your eyes are like saucers at this point, just watching this. You just continue on. Make a perception check.
15.
15. You actually get a little bit further than even from the wrecked hull, so you've begun to actually pass it at this point. and you see smaller scuttling forms coming out of the hull and going into the water
Babies!
where the larger crab had just disappeared. And at that point, you decide now might be a good time to start running.
Yep. Yep.
So you just take off like a shot. And as you're running, are you still holding the smudge stick as you go?
I would assume those things aren't compatible activities.
Okay. So you try for a second and you start running and you realize that the smoke is just kind of backdrafting into your face as you go. So you throw it to one side and you notice that it's still burning at this point. It's kind of burning behind you, and you continue on. You continue on for a minute, and then you see off to your side, Monty is kind of coming in behind you and catching up and drawing even with you. So he must have been over there somewhere waiting for you and saw you book it past and decided, well, I'm going to catch up with Torin.
Good deal.
And
Good
so
job, bud.
finally you do. Do you just keep running flat out, or?
Once I'm going to say 700 yards away from it, I will start trotting slower, because the smudge stick is on the path. They're probably not going to come this way for a while, and I don't want to exhaust myself.
Yep. And you can still, as a matter of fact, you can still see the smoke rising behind you from the smudge stick burning for a pretty good distance after you run. And even after you slow down a little bit and start moderating your pace, you can still kind of see the plume back there off the trail.
I do have a question. We didn't talk about this. So the ocean, sea, water, whatever, what does it look like? Is it like Caribbean blue? Is it like Eastern Coast United States, the darker because of the oxygen level? Like, what color is it?
So it's
okay, see the bottom?
No. You can see right around the beach, you can kind of, to a certain extent, you can kind of see a rocky bottom just around the beach. Looking out further, no, you can't see any bottom. This is a colder sea.
Okay.
So you want to think like New England coast would be probably the best analogy for it. Is definitely not Mediterranean. It'd be more like a New England type of, like a Maine kind of coastline.
I was hoping that, wouldn't it be nice if one of the flame-faced crabs did like a cannonball into the water and I could see it the entire time?
Oh, no.
Nope, not today. Okay, running.
It's a dark blue. You do know that the name of this sea is the Silver Sea. Not because it's actually colored silver. It's because across this sea is where the Silver Empire is. It's called the Argent Empire, which means silver. So
nice.
Yeah, the emperor is the silver emperor. So that's why it's called the Silver Sea. It's not because it's colored silver.
Okay. Cool.
So at this point, you figure once you kind of moderate your pace a little bit, you've probably got less than an hour left until you get to town. If you want to, you think you can probably kind of go back to your previous practice of kind of trotting and then walking and trotting and walking and just kind of pacing yourself a little bit. You think you can probably do that the rest of the way into town. Okay. And if you do that, you might even make it in 30 to 45 minutes or so.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to do so.
Okay. So you do that. And it is just, by the time you get back, it is just coming up to dusk. So the sun is just starting to go down. It is not completely gone down yet, so there is light still, but it's going to be dark fairly shortly. So you arrive back, and you can see ahead of you. The first thing you see is the fortress on top of its small rise or hill, and the trail leads you back in the direction of those wide open green spaces that you had sat in
Yep.
earlier in the day. And it leads you back to that area. What would you like to do from here?
So Lizzie said that a lot of the streets turned into basically they kind of corral you to the main square. So I'm just gonna, as I get closer, try to find one of those main gates.
Okay, so you do recall that the street that leads up to the main gates of the fortress, if you take that south, it will lead you back to the marketplace where you've been before. That was where you saw the statue in the square, and where you had spoken to the bread, the merchant selling bread at the from his cart in the
I got a
market.
carrot from him.
You did, yes. Or actually, yeah, he sold vegetables. But yes, you at some point you got bread.
Of course I did. I'm a gnome.
So yes, you've been there before, and you do remember that street will, if you go south on the same street that leads up to the castle gates, it will take you back to that square. And you do recall that being a major thoroughfare, that street. So
Okay.
is
And
that
then
is that the direction you want to head?
Mm-hmm.
Got to keep up on my caffeine intake here.
It's cool. It's cool. You ever sleep? Yeah.
So occasionally when I can manage it. All right, so you take that road, and it's almost familiar at this point. You've been up at this street a couple of times, so the sights are all familiar. You do notice that on this particular street, oddly, it's busier as the sun is starting to go down than it was when you came through here earlier in the day. There's more people out and about. And as before, you notice that the people here are a bit more well-dressed than the people that you've seen elsewhere, especially in the dock area, for example. And some of them seem like now is the time when they come out and get their drink on. And that seems to be what some of them are at least starting to do. And you continue south, and it fairly quickly opens up into that large town square that you remember. The statue of the man with the axe is still right there in the middle. And there, you do still see, it appears that there's quite a bit of shipping activity that must go on in this square. Like it appears to be because it's a wide open space, it looks like they use it as a staging area for like caravans and wagons and things of that nature. So there's quite a bit of boxes and crates kind of scattered all over the place. It looks like they try and keep most of it out of the way as the hour of the day grows later, because most of it is kind of, you recall a lot of it being in sort of piles and clumps, kind of right in the middle of the square. Now it seems like they're kind of kept pushed back against some of the buildings and against sort of these low stone walls that surround the perimeter of the square. So it seems like they're kind of trying to keep it out of the way later in the evening. And you also don't see any merchants here anymore. All of the carts that were here, the little stalls, are either closed up, or some of them you assume must be like mobile tents and things of that nature, because they're completely gone. Some of them seem to be more permanent stalls that are now shuttered and closed up. And nobody seems to be selling anything here anymore. You do see a couple of carts that put you in mind of the Salamagundi vendor.
Yeah, he was cool. We liked him.
We met earlier. You don't see him here specifically, but you do see a couple of other carts. None of the carts are as fancy as his was. You recall his was all metal. All these are kind of shabbier and of less interesting construction, and they seem to be selling basically like street meat, like meat on a stick, that kind of thing. So there are a couple of those kind of wandering around. They don't seem to be getting a whole lot of business. Every now and again, someone will buy something from them. And most of the people here that are here, it's not super crowded here. Most of the people that are here appear to be groups of people that are getting ready to go carouse. There are some people here who are probably you get the sense that it's kind of like a lover's lane. You see a number of couples kind of spread about, kind of keeping to themselves and just doing things like gazing lovingly into each other's eyes and things of that.
I roll.
Yeah. So you do see that. So you kind of get the sense that there's a kind of a lover's lane component to this area after dark or around dark. So that's what you see around you currently.
Okay. First thing I want to do is I want to buy meat on a stick because I just ran really hard.
Right.
Second thing that I would so we remember being told by one of the gnomes that we wanted to find like Amara, some word, Amarnar. I don't know. Way it's one. I have to go 1 block north to get to the wash. Along a road.
Correct.
So
Yep.
I'm gonna. What's the name of the road?
Okay, the name of the road. Yes, Arumar Way.
Here you go.
So this is something that you would have noticed earlier. The statue of the man with the axe that's right in the middle of the square of the marketplace says Timoth Arumar. He's the first mayor of the city, and it's spelled ARWM. Hold on a second. Let me double check the spelling of it.
I'm gonna ruin it anyway. I'm sorry for all your hard work.
All right. ARWMAR. That's his family name. His first name is Timoth, Tymoth.
Okay.
And the road that you just came down, that you just came down it south in a southerly direction. And it also extends further south from the marketplace. You were told that's Arumar Way or Arumar Street. There's different names for it, but it's named after the first mayor.
Makes sense. All right. I will follow it until it looks like I have to go 1 block north.
Okay. So at this point, at this point you would actually backtrack a little bit, because if you came down the street south and came into the marketplace. So to go 1 block north, you just have to backtrack 1 block. And you're looking for the watch station that you were told is there?
Meat on a stick first.
Oh, meat on a stick first. Okay. Easy enough. There's a couple of vendors that you can get that from. It should just 1 copper piece. If you get 1 for you and 1 for Monty, it'd be 2 copper pieces.
I'll just take 1 and I'll split it with him.
Okay. Easy enough. The meat on a stick vendor is an elderly woman who looks pretty happy and grateful that you've decided to give her some money tonight. She looks like business isn't very good tonight, so she's happy to get at least 1 customer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you head back north a little bit and kind of look around carefully, coming through this time. And you're pretty sure you see the watch station. It's kind of set back. If you go 1 block north and it's kind of set back a little bit, it almost has its own little indentation off of the street. It's got kind of an open area right in front of it. And it is a low one-story building, simple blocky rectangle, made entirely from what you can see out of bricks and masonry. And there's only one door in it, right in front, dead center. No windows that you can see, not even slits, not even like arrow slits, like just sheer blank stone and brick face with one door right in the middle of it. It's a pretty large door. It's you would think it would be like a double door, but there's only one huge door in it. But it's double wide, so like probably 5 or 6 big people could fit through it, walking abreast through it at one time. Like
Park, maybe.
They could march in, a cart possibly, but yeah, like 5 or 6 people could probably march in lockstep right through the front door with no problem. And it's just got one huge door that is currently, it seems like a regular door, just gigantic. Like it's got hinges on one side. It's currently open, and you can kind of see light coming. The interior is lit, so you can see light coming out, spilling out into the street in front of it. And yeah, it's just a huge iron-bound wooden door that's built to fit this huge wide doorway in the front of this building. And you see, make a religion check.
I have religion. 16.
16, that is good enough. So you see, mounted right above the doorway, you see what you recognize pretty immediately as the symbol of the deity Ea, who is the god of law and justice.
How do you spell it?
EA.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, I probably won't mess that one up.
And you see that you recognize it right away, like not even any hesitation. Oh yeah, that's what that is. It's right above the, it looks like it's made out of steel, polished steel, from what you can see. And it's right above the doorway. So pretty good guess this might be some sort of law enforcement type building.
I'm going to whisper to Monty that I wonder if there are actual windows around this building and it's just an illusion like the lighthouse. Monty says nothing.
He just kind of shakes.
So the doors are open. Is there any of the guards around where you said that some of them have the shoulder things on them before when I came the first time?
So the ones that you've seen that and that Goldrin told you to look for, the ones with the yellow, they have their helmets are yellow. They're not gold. They seem to be maybe painted or enameled yellow, you would guess. And then they have yellow epaulets as well on the shoulders. So you don't see any of them like outside. Now that you kind of look closer and you look into the bright light that's kind of coming out through the door, you do see what looks like two of them, one standing on each side of the doorway, just inside the doorway.
Okay. I'm gonna saunter up there.
Okay. As you do so, make a perception check.
We don't get arrested. 19.
19.
Ooh, my dice love me today. Yes, 19.
They're doing well, apparently.
I'm going to keep this one.
From south, so from the direction of the marketplace where you just came from, you hear some sort of, so it's a disturbance of some sort. You hear like loud, you hear people's voices raised and shout, like sounds like shouting from what you can tell. And there's a clatter of some kind. Sounds like horses and maybe wheels. And so you turn your head and look, and you see a large wagon or cart of some sort, not a covered one. It almost looks like a large hay cart. Even it's not like a covered wagon or so. It's not a conveyance for like an upper class person or anything like that. It's just a pure transportation, but quite large, being pulled by a team of 4 horses. And it's on both sides of it. It's got almost an escort of Appian guardsmen. There's probably a good dozen of them on either side of this cart, sort of marching along as the cart makes its way through the streets. And you kind of are one. You can't quite tell at first where the shouting is coming from, and then you notice that people that just bystanders and passerbys who happen to be on the street are shouting at the guardsmen and this cart as it goes by. You can't quite make out at this distance what it is that they're saying, but they're kind of doesn't seem hostile necessarily. It's almost like they are sort of like rubbernecking, like they're trying to, like these passerby and people in the street are trying to figure out what is going on themselves, and they're kind of questioning. They don't sound like they're like hostile or like upset or anything like that. More like they're questioning what's going on themselves. So, and it's coming towards you. It turned around a corner, which is when you caught sight of it and heard the disturbance. And now it's coming up. It's coming north up Arumar Way, heading towards you as you're standing there in the street looking at the guard station.
Okay.
And Yep, go ahead.
I'm gonna still head towards the guard station, but I'm assuming there's enough space for both of us to be on the street, but I might have to wait.
You think that it might be a good idea to move over and get off the street, because you might from the procession coming at you, you could probably easily get trampled. So it's
going to the outside then. I'll wait.
You're going towards the building and just waiting outside the building?
Yes, I just don't want to get crushed.
Okay. Yep. So if you recall, the watch station kind of sits in its own space. So there is the street, and then there's an open area in front of the guard station, and the guard station is set back. So you're able to kind of get off the street right away and go up to the guard station. How close do you want to get to the guard station?
How far away am I right now?
If you get off the street, if you take a couple of steps off the street into this open sort of courtyard in front of the guard station, the courtyard is only about 20 feet or so wide. So you would have to go a further 20 feet to get right up and like put your hand on the guard station.
Yeah, 120 feet. Let's do it. See what happens.
You're gonna move right up to the guard station. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you get right up there. Are you going toward the door, or are you going to just hang out like along the wall?
I'll go to the door. They're probably not going to be able to talk to me, but I'll go to the door.
Yep. Right. So you go right up to the door, and at this point, it seems the guardsmen that you had seen inside the doorway have also heard the disturbance kind of coming up the street, and so they step out. They both step out and look. They don't even notice you.
Okay.
They're not looking at you at all. They're looking down the street at this procession coming towards them. And they kind of look at each other. And one of them goes inside, ducks back into the doorway, into the building itself. And one of them kind of steps further out and goes up. He goes up, the one that stayed out goes up to the edge of the street. And he's looking down the street toward this procession coming up the street. The other one disappeared back inside. didn't spare neither of them spare you even a look.
I'm gonna make the assumption that the guard, when he eventually comes back to the guardhouse, will see me waiting out here. So I'm just gonna wait outside the building and watch what exchange of the thing coming up the street and the guard that's out there.
Yep. So the procession gets almost even with the watch station itself, and the guard that had walked up to the street starts sort of traffic directing the procession into this courtyard that sits right in front of the watch station. At almost the same time, the original guardsman who had ducked back inside comes out with about 6 other people, 6 other guardsmen, and they all come out to the front. Now you're kind of with your back up against the wall, standing right to one side of the doorway, and nobody really has even noticed you still. You do see there's a couple of them that kind of glance in your direction and like they register the fact, hey, there's a gnome standing there, but they don't really seem to take any interest in the fact because they're very kind of
Busy.
focused. Yeah, they're kind of focused on what else is going on. And apparently you don't seem to be a threat, at least as far as they can tell. So they kind of, okay, there's a gnome there, and then they'd go about their business.
Mm-hmm.
So the procession comes in, and the escorting guardsmen who kind of surround this wagon kind of break off from their sort of rigid marching formation and all start coming in toward the other guardsmen who were in the watch station already. And just a babble of conversation breaks out. And several of these guardsmen are trying to direct the wagon into place and point it to where they want it to park. And they're kind of making a mess of it because there's about 5 of them that are trying to do it, and they're each telling the driver of the wagon to go in a different place. So it's it's immediately turning into a scene of mass chaos. And all of the marching guardsmen and the guardsmen who came out from the inside of the watch station just start talking to each other. Like they all start talking over each other. They're kind of babbling excitedly at each other. You do hear one phrase repeated several times. Make an insight check.
14.
You hear one phrase repeated several times by several different guardsmen, kind of in different directions, and the tone in which they're saying it catches your attention. Some of them say it in a tone which is kind of like delightedly conspiratorial. Like they're kind of like they think that this is something cool or neat. It's interesting in some fashion. Some of them are actually scared, frightened when they say it, like genuinely frightened. And the phrase is cold Cassandra.
Okay.
So other than that, that catches your attention because it's repeated several times. You hear it several times. Other than that, the best you can make out is the fact that they believe a murder has happened. Someone's been killed. And they're bringing the body back. And indeed, you look at the cart, the wagon, and there is what appears to be a draped form on the back of it, covered with cloth that seems to be a big person, a human-sized figure of some sort, laid out on some straw in the back of this cart. It's covered with what looks like sackcloth or canvas or something of that nature. And Yeah, it's just rapidly turning into a gab fest and total chaos out here.
Okay.
Is there anything that you want to do?
Um, when they start pairing off and having their chatter fest, I want to actually enter the building because they're going to be doing this a while.
Okay. You turn and you kind of enter the momentarily blinding light that's spilling out from the doorway. And you kind of lose your vision a little bit because it's quite bright once you actually walk into it. You're kind of blinking your eyes, and you walk into a large open space. There's light, quite a bit of light in this space. You can't immediately tell what the source of the light is. Like, you don't see any torches, you don't smell any smoke, you don't immediately see any open flame or anything like that. But it's quite a large open space. There are benches placed along the walls, you see, as you kind of blink away the momentary blindness. There's a couple people sort of sitting in the benches here and there, not many of them, maybe 3 of them, that kind of seem to be sort of scrunched up in their seats. Some of them actually have their knees up to their chest, with their arms wrapped around their shins, kind of making themselves seem as small as possible. Some of them appear to be outright inebriated. There's another half a dozen or so that kind of fit that description. There's a large desk in the northwest corner as you walk in, a large wooden desk, behind which sits a large, red-faced, corpulent man with the yellow epaulets, nothing on his head, including no hair. He's got sort of straggly streaks of this brown hair that kind of fly away in wisps. He's largely bald, and right on the desk, the top of the desk, within easy reach of his left hand, is what appears to be a loaded heavy crossbow.
Nice.
You kind of duck into the room, and this man behind this large desk with the crossbow sort of immediately zeroes in on you as you walk in. Hey, you there? What's your business here?
Hi. I'm Torin. I am not from here. And I have come to report some missing fishermen and a shipwreck outside of your town. And a fire-faced crab. And this tooth.
He has this sour look on his face right up until the time where you pull out the tooth and say, this tooth. And then that immediately gets his attention. And he looks at it. You want to run that by me again?
All right. So me and Monty, hi, we were walking towards the Glimmerglass Lighthouse outside of town. And on our way there, as animated as possible, we saw a shipwreck, like a 8-person boat. We went to investigate.
Where did you get that? And he points at the tooth.
Inside the boat. I wanted to make sure everybody was okay, and half the boat was gone, and this was stuck in the beam.
And whose boat was it?
I don't know. I have no idea. How would I know that?
And he kind of hear you, both of you hear sort of an uproar outside, like the gabble of voices has swelled and gotten louder all of a sudden outside. And he kind of looks out the door. You got anything to do with that? You and your shipwreck? And he points out through the door.
What is a that?
The ruckus.
No? No?
Sit down,
When you were coming.
have a seat over there. And he just points.
Okay.
He kind of dismissively points you towards one of the benches where the other people, the drunks and so forth, are sitting.
Rude. Okay.
Right.
I mean,
You go grab a seat.
yes.
Right.
Monty.
You and Monty kind of find a seat to sit down, kind of as far as possible from any of the drunks or kind of the other people.
Not in a jail cell, right?
No, this is
I'm like in a waiting room.
It seems to be like a waiting room, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So you go over and find a convenient open seat. Like I said, it's not super crowded in here at the moment, so it's easy enough to do. It's getting quite rowdy outside from what you can hear. You can't really make out words being inside, but you can hear the voices and kind of the noise going on outside. You're only sitting there. The florid, corpulent man with the crossbow. You can kind of see him this whole time. From where his desk is, he can't quite see out the door, so he keeps getting up and like leaning over his desk and like trying to get a better view and like trying to peer out the doorway. Like he's really curious, but he won't actually come out from behind his desk and go to the door. He's just kind of trying to see things from his desk. You've only been sitting there for maybe not even 2 minutes, probably. You kind of get a somewhat better look around. You notice that they're all over, like plastered all over the walls. There are what appear to be wanted posters of various kinds. Old, everything from old and yellowed and tattered and graffitied on to pretty new, you would guess. And there are several doors as well that lead, closed doors that lead into other areas. So there are 3 other doors that lead out of this room. So that would be 4 total, including the one that you came in through. So there's basically one in each wall of this squarish room. And you've only been sitting there for not even 2 minutes, probably, when the door in the eastern wall, as you walk in, slams open. I mean, something with a considerable amount of force just slams this door open, and it hits the wall, the stone wall, as it swings open and bounces off with a crash. And from behind the door stalks a tall, thin tiefling, dressed entirely in black leather. What he's wearing reminds you, in the real world, it would remind you of a military uniform, but it's entirely made out of black leather. And at his neck, like in the real world where a military officer might have like a tie. So right at the neck where the tie, the knot of the tie would sit, there's a silver medallion, a circular silver medallion, highly polished, and it has, from what you can kind of see at a quick glance, is an abstract pattern of some sort, either carved into it or hammered into it in some fashion. And he's very tall. He's well over 6 feet tall, slender. He's got a sharply pointed beard, white hair on top, brought back in a ponytail behind, and he's got 2 curled horns, like his horns actually curl. Pale blue skin. And he just comes out and he just looks around. His eyes are yellow. He comes out and in the briefest of seconds, he intently takes in every single person in this room, registers them, uh, assigns a threat level to them, and then dismisses them like boom, 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 boom. This guy is like on top of everything that's around him. You can tell immediately. So that includes you. He looks at you, registers you, makes a note of you, and moves on to the next person.
Right.
He looks at the person, the man with the crossbow behind the desk, and just fixes him with like a dagger stare for like 3 straight seconds. You don't even see him blink. And the man with the crossbow, who, by the way, you can't tell how tall he is because he's behind the desk, but he's much heavier and more muscular than this tiefling. Mm-hmm. And he just shrinks down like almost in blubbering fear just by being fixed by this guy's penetrating stare for like 3 seconds. And after he does that, he swings around and looks out the doorway and just immediately starts making a beeline, stalking for the outside, the outside, so the front door, towards the disturbance that it is still quite loud out there. And he walks out the door, and you actually are watching him as he does this, and he stops in the doorway, framed perfectly in the doorway, and just stands there and just draws himself up to his full height, puts his hands on his hips, and just stands there right in the doorway, perfectly framed. And outside, it goes dead silent. He just stands there for a second, just kind of absorbs the silence. Without even looking, he grabs the edge of the front door, which is open, which has been open the whole time you've been here. He reaches around, doesn't even look, grabs the edge of it, steps forward, slams the door shut. You don't hear anything. You don't hear so much as a peep after that door slams shut from outside. And now in here inside the watch station, it's now as quiet as a tomb.
That was cool. Seems like a nice guy, Monty. You're a real nice guy.
What would you like to do?
Do I recall looking at the guards, any of them having a fancy like medallion or any kind of mark at the base of their necks that are similar to the guy's medallion?
You do not. You don't recall seeing anything of that nature before.
All right. Could I position myself to sit someplace closer to where the door was closed? So there's a chance that I can hear what's going on?
Find a seat over there. You don't, you kind of get up and wander over there, and you don't really hear much from out there at the moment.
I'm going to talk to the guy that's sitting down again.
The guy with the crossbow?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, he's behind the desk, and you can, as you walk over toward him, he looks like he's trying to look busy, like he's kind of shuffling papers around, and you see just this like flop sweat on his forehead and on his the top of his head, and you can kind of tell he kind of keeps casting like these furtive glances out of the corner of his eye toward the front door, and he's kind of shuffling papers around like he's trying to
act busy.
Like he's trying to act busy.
I'm going to pull out like a handkerchief. I assume that I have one somewhere. I don't know. And offer it to him and say, hey, you might want to wipe some of that sweat off. I think he's gone.
Make a persuasion check at disadvantage.
God. No, I don't want to tell you what it was. It's a 5. It's a 5. We're
I
going to
thought I
jail,
told you.
Monty.
I thought I told you to sit down in the corner and wait. He actually kind of stands up partly out of the desk and is like yelling at you.
Just trying to help.
Get
Looks
back
like there's a lot
over
going
there.
on.
Yeah, and I don't need you adding more to it. Get back over there before I throw you in a cell.
I'm going to trot back, but I'm going to whisper. That's very disrespectful. I'm going to leave the handkerchief there, though.
All right. Whether he heard you or not, he seems to either be ignoring you or just choosing to pretend he didn't hear you.
You should have gotten
And,
another meat on a stick is what I needed. More meat on a stick for my waiting. Sorry, go on.
He goes back to shuffling his papers around, but now in between, sort of looking out of the corner of his eye at the door, he kind of is looking daggers at you every so often as well.
It's fine. I'm good at making friends. Okay.
So, you wait several more minutes, and the front door once again slams open. So the main front door, and whatever did this, given the size and the obvious weight of this front door, whatever force is opening this door must be pretty damn strong, because this door goes flying open and slams against the outer stone wall with a resounding thud.
Yeah.
And so as it opens up, 4 guardsmen walk in, and they've got the draped form of what you assume is the body of the murder victim that they were talking about. They've kind of got it. They're carrying it, one on each corner. So there's 4 of them. They each grab a corner, and they're kind of walking the body draped in its sackcloth or whatever it is into the room, and it looks like they're headed towards the door that's in the northern wall. Looks so directly across the room, and bringing up the foot of the body is this tiefling, and he's doing the same thing as he's just looking around with that sort of look, that intense look at everybody in the room. He's just looking at and just taking the measure of everybody that's around. And the 4 guardsmen that are carrying the body are practically scurrying across the room. Like they're doing their job, and they're doing it as quickly and efficiently as they possibly can. And they reach the northern door, and they kind of have to there's kind of a momentary confusion as to how they're going to open the door while carrying the body, and the two in front kind of jostle around a little bit, each of them trying to get to the door handle to open the door. And this tiefling just gives them an absolute withering look and walks around to the head of the body himself, opens the door up, and waves them through into the further recesses of the building. And they all go through, close the door behind them. Make a perception check. While you
14, which is better than a 5.
Okay. As the door shuts behind this morbid little procession, one of the drunks that's sitting on the benches, sort of under his breath, he mutters, "Gold Cassandra."
Gold Cassandra. I whispered to the other guy.
Do you whisper it to the one that said it or to somebody else?
To the guy that said it.
Yeah. So he's probably a half elf. You can't quite see all of his features because he's got a hood pulled up over his head. And he's got kind of like from what you can see, he's got kind of long, scraggly, dirty brown hair and a scraggly beard. But he kind of has very delicate features. You can't quite see if he's got pointed ears or anything like that, but he's kind of has that elf look to him. So you're guessing he's probably a half elf. Dirty and smelly, like you can pretty much smell him from across the room.
Gross.
So yeah, to get up close to him is definitely an experience. And what do you say to him? Is that cold Cassandra?
Yes. Yep.
And he kind of immediately looks at you. His eyes are kind of bugged out. What? What? Who are you?
Doran.
As
I was sitting over there.
As he says this to you, you get the just the stink of alcohol on a cheap alcohol on his breath as he says this to you.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a question is that? No,
not everybody is from here, sir.
Well, where are you from?
Not here.
Well, you don't know who Cold Cassandra is. Cold Cassandra is the spirit of winter that haunts the moors.
Oh.
Whenever,
Okay.
if someone dies of cold and frostbite in the middle of summer, who else do you think did it?
I see your point.
Cassandra. Every now and again, she leaves the moors and comes and bothers the decent, honest folk like us who live in the cities.
I'm not laughing at the guy. Nicely done. All right. So, do you know who the tiefling was? I'm going to back away because he's smelly after I ask my question.
Oh, you don't want any part of him. That's Rycorn Neverlorn, the Inquisitor Captain of the Watch. He is as mean as a snake, that one.
Okay. Thank you for the information, sir. I'm going to go over there.
And he points a dirty, bony finger right at your nose and says, beware when that one's around, and beware when Cold Cassandra comes to Blackshore.
Okay. He's a strange guy, Monty.
He kind of wraps himself up into a little ball again and just starts muttering to himself.
So I'm going to talk to Monty and tell him that it sounds like this cold Cassandra is like our version of death. But it's not as nice as our version of death, if you can believe such a thing, Monty.
Monty just kind of takes it all in.
Okay, that's cool. I'm gonna pull out the tooth and just examine it. Not that there's anything I have left to examine, but just for something to do.
Make an insight check.
Can I use my halfling thing to re-roll one of these? I have lucky.
Oh, right. Yeah, not technically a half thing, but yeah, you can do that.
Okay. I will take a 17 over a 7 any day.
Okay.
17.
When you take the tooth out and begin kind of going over it and examining it, you look up and you see that the man behind the desk with the crossbow is kind of furtively watching you do this. He seems to be interested in that tooth because he's looking at the tooth as you kind of turn it over in your hands.
I make eye contact with him. Does he still give me daggers?
If you see, yes, when he sees you looking at him, he kind of gets that sour look back on his face and goes and stops watching you and goes back to pushing papers around his desk.
Mature person, Monty. Go to being adults. He's probably stressed. All right. So basically it looks like a giant shark tooth. Yes?
Yes.
How far am I away from the person with the large crossbow?
So if you had wandered over toward the door and then sat closer to the drunk, you're on the opposite side of the room, about 20, maybe 20-ish feet away.
What are the conditions of the other people in the room?
So about a half a dozen of them are obvious drunks in various stages of inebriation. There's three of them that you have no idea what their deal is. They don't seem to be paying any attention to you. They seem to be, you don't know, they're in their own world, or they're preoccupied, or you're not really sure what's up with them, but they don't seem to be looking at you at all.
I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm gonna go back to the drunk guy and ask him if he knows what the guy with the crossbow's name is. He sounds like he's been here before.
And he kind of, as you ask him this, he's kind of looks at you and kind of looks around. Shh. That's Oxnard, Sheriff Oxnard. You don't want to mess with him either. I've seen him use that crossbow more than once.
Fair. I'll wander away and play with his tooth.
Hey, what's that you got there? That's pretty cool. He's
The tooth.
Pointing with the tooth, yeah. Where'd you get that?
Well, I was walking one day, which is good for you, by the way, and I saw a boat, and the boat had a large chunk mark at missing, and lots of people are dead, which is why I'm here. And I found this in it, and I just like lots of flair. I'm not gonna let it go, but I'll put it close to him so he can touch it if he wanted to.
He reaches out and touches it and cuts his finger. Ah! Little drop of blood kind of starts dripping onto the floor.
I roll.
That's sharp. What the? Why didn't you tell me it was going to be that sharp? He starts.
It's a tooth.
He puts his finger in his mouth and starts sucking on it.
I do a glowy spell and he feels better.
You're gonna heal him?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. You reach out and you touch him, and some of the divine energy of Medine flows through your hand and into him. And he kind of you can tell he kind of feels it because he gives a jolt, pops the finger out of his mouth. What did you do? What was that?
Welcome to religion. I healed you, man. I healed you with the power of Medine. He's my faith, man. Yes.
You mean I won't want to drink anymore?
Nope, you can drink still. It's cool. Your finger.
Oh my God. My finger. Oh my God. It's not bleeding anymore. You did that?
Yes.
That's incredible. How'd you do that?
I asked my God for help.
Who's your god?
Nadine.
Oh, Medine.
Dean.
Doesn't he do like weapons and armor and stuff?
We do a
And
lot of things.
he does the hammery thing on the metal and wow.
Yeah, I'll show him the tri hammer symbol that I have.
The Tridentine hammer, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of Medine. I didn't know he could do stuff like that. The only ones I've ever seen do anything like that are the blood priests. And they they want too much money for what they do. And other things too. You notice that he seems markedly more sober all of a sudden than he was before.
Does healing word out of player character question?
Yep.
Out of character question. Does healing word remove status effects?
Nope.
All right. Cool. Continue on.
You must not be from around here. Not many people know anything about Medine around here. You don't hear that name much. All you hear is these, and he kind of looks around dismissively. These Aya people and Saralea and ones like that. That's about it. Actually, I would have pegged you for Saralea. All those, just all the gnomes that I've ever known are real Saralea types. All those Glimmerglass ones out in the lighthouse there, they're all into the Saralea.
I don't recall Saralea. What is that the faith of?
So you would know that Saralea is the goddess of healing, medicine, light, and illumination.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
Nope. That was not my calling.
So where did you say you were from?
Old Aralin? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's down south somewhere, isn't it?
A long ways. I took a boat here.
What are you doing up here? This is the armpit of nowhere.
Well, not a lot of people know about my faith here, so they sent me here to, see if anybody wants to learn, and I have a couple other missions, but right now I'm here to report the fishermen's.
I guess you're doing a pretty good job then.
You think so?
I mean, you did this, and you told me Medine did it, so I mean, that's kind of what you said you had to do, right?
That's one thing, yeah. Yep.
Well, good.
So you're saying I just have to. Sorry, go ahead.
He just says, "Well, good for you." How do you plan to keep? What do you plan to do next?
I have to, after I'm done reporting this, and I don't want to die from a fireface crab, but that's a story for another day. I have to go back to the Glimmerglass thing. That's where I'm hanging out right now. That's my post.
I guess that makes sense. The gnome thing and whatnot. I mean, even though it's two, I mean, how does that work? Two different gods? I mean, I guess they're not very fanatical or anything. That's not like they're zealots or anything like that, as far as I know. So, I guess
there are lots of gods out there, man. Lots of gods out there. That's okay.
Yeah. Don't say that too loud around these types, though. And he kind of makes a gesture that sort of takes in all of the surroundings.
I wink at him. No.
Definitely don't say that in front of the blood priests if you ever run into any. There's a few that come here every now and again.
Avoid blood priests. Got it. What's your name?
My name's Hammond. Hammond Clow.
You
What
look
was
like
your
you're
name
feeling
again?
better. I am Torrin Wobblecog the second.
The second. Who was the first?
I don't know. They didn't tell me. Don't you ever just get a random number sometimes? You could be
Yeah, but
Hammond Cloud the third.
when I get a random number, it's my sentence that I get for public intoxication.
Ooh, that's a problem. Don't do that.
But you said I could still drink.
You can drink. That's cool. I'm a little concerned for you now, though.
It's not so bad. Being AI worshippers, they keep their prisons pretty nice, actually. I mean, I get put away for a few days. I got to dry out, which is terrible, but it happens. But I get 3 squares a day and a nice clean cot, plenty of clean water. It's not that bad.
Sounds great.
Nobody beats me. It's great. It really is. It's great. It's great. It's great.
I feel like the bar for great is low. Okay. All right. What would you
Maybe.
rather be doing, though?
Well, I mean, I used to sail. Used to hire on with the Costerman every season. That was good work.
Question for you.
Uh-huh.
So, when I arrived here last night, I decided to walk on the docks in the morning, and you seem like a nice guy, so maybe you'll tell me what's legit here. And I got a lot of really dirty looks, and people did not want me to be there. And so I left because I didn't want to like ruin tradition or whatever. But what was that?
When you say walk, what do you mean? You just like we're out for a casual stroll
Yes.
on the docks.
Yes.
Yeah, the docks. So the docks, each dock is its own territory, let's say. And there's a certain group of employees, staff, maybe you could call them, of the Costermen that own those docks. And they don't want people from other costers coming into their territory.
Okay.
So if you were out for a morning stroll on the docks, you're lucky you didn't get a shiv in your ribs.
I have gathered that.
Being in the wrong territory.
Okay. No stab marks.
They keep good security in their docks because, well, I mean, a lot of them have trade secrets that they want to protect. They don't want outsiders around their cargo and around seeing what they're doing. So they hire staff and they pay them good. And sometimes they have other ways of ensuring loyalty as well. And those are the only people.
Sounds shady, man.
Yeah, it's shady.
Okay.
Don't go down there and wander around.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a docks district that wasn't shady?
I mean, there were docks where I grew up, and I mean, there was shade during half of the day, but not none of this nonsense.
Have you ever been in docks anywhere in the world where there wasn't a certain element, if you know what I mean? I've been in ports all over the Silver Sea and beyond, and I've never come upon any dock of any city of decent size that didn't have a certain element running around in it.
It's possible that I wasn't paying attention,
That might get a shiv in your ribs too.
but I'm here now. No ships.
Well, you remember what I said then, and you keep the shivs away.
Yes. Yes. Have you ever seen a fire-faced crab in your travels?
I've seen a few of those. You know, they say that the faces on them are the souls of drowning victims that have been imprisoned in the shells of those crabs. That's pretty creepy, isn't it?
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like pull out of my bag like something that is like a lemongrass plant and give this to him to chew on because his breath is smelly. And he's getting better, but he still doesn't smell any better. Here, man, chew on this.
Chew on it. What for?
Yeah. Gives you amazing breath.
What's wrong with my breath?
Nothing.
Does it taste good? I'm kind of hungry.
Yes. Yes. It tastes delicious. It's good for you too.
Oh, all right, all right. And he starts chewing on it.
We got him, Monty. Okay. All right. You're an interesting dude.
Keep that tooth where it's not going to cut anybody, all right?
Oh, try not to cut yourself on random teeth. Okay, I put it away.
That one over there, just so you know, and he kind of lowers his voice again and kind of leans in closer. Just so you know, that one over there, and he nods his head toward Oxnard. He's been eyeing that thing all night, so you might want to keep an eye on him in return, if you know what I mean.
How long do you think I'm going to be waiting here?
What were you waiting for?
I have to talk to somebody. I have to report the deaths of fishermen's.
Oh. I've been here all day. Literally all day. I got drunk last night and got hauled in, and I've been here since then. So when I say all day, I mean an entire day.
Okay.
So here's what I would do. If you go head back out, see you're not arrested, right? You didn't get arrested, right? Okay. So I gotta stay here. And he kind of lifts up the edge of the sort of rough shirt that he's wearing. And you can see that he's actually got some sort of metal band around where a belt would be. And you can see, you didn't see this before because he was leaning back against the wall. There's actually a cord, a chain attaching this metal belt that he's wearing to the wall. So he's actually manacled to the wall around his waist. So you can just leave. So go back out the front door, go around the building. There is it butts up against the surrounding buildings, directly opposite the door on the other side of the building. There's a rear entrance. Go in there. Oxnard doesn't control that area. Grab any of the watchmen that you can and tell them what you need.
Great. Great. You've been awesome, man. Good luck on your journey.
My journey.
Yeah.
What have you heard? Where are they from? Are they kicking me out of Blackshore? Who have you been talking to?
I mean,
What's in this,
man.
What's in this weed that you gave me to chew on?
It's a phrase from the faith.
Why do I feel so clear-headed all of a sudden? What is this?
I have no idea.
Suddenly, you just taste fresh and minty. What is going on?
You look great, man. I'll be seeing you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna walk with Monty almost like I belong here, just walk out the door without saying anything to anybody.
All right.
See how well this goes.
You see as you kind of look over your shoulder, Hammond is just kind of sitting there like examining the herb that you gave him and just kind of like trying to figure it out. He sniffs it real hard, tastes it a few more times. That's what he's doing as you walk out the front door.
Auntie, I think we unintentionally saved your life today. Oh, high five.
Monty gives you a shake. All right, so you are now out front of the building. You notice that the wagon is nowhere to be seen. There are a few of the guardsmen sort of milling about. There's only 4 of them, just kind of hanging out in the area. They don't seem to be really talking. They're just kind of sort of aimlessly wandering around. You kind of get the sense that they're trying to look busy as well. And the street right in front, the people that are wandering by, the crowd of people still kind of seems the same. It's full dark now. The street is lit by lanterns that are kind of more or less evenly spaced along the street. There are still the people out that are out for a night on the town. You do notice that they seem, as they pass by, they're all turning and kind of looking at the watch station, like with like curious looks on their faces. And they kind of, as people pass, they all kind of rubberneck a little bit to the watch station before they pass by and are, go about their business. So other than that, seems fairly normal out here now. It's normal noise. There isn't a huge ruckus going on any longer.
I'm gonna grab a guy that is a watchman that looks like he might be a reasonable person.
Just one of the ones that's kind of wandering or kind of milling about out front there.
Would I see something different if I followed Hammond's instruction of going around the building to the north and going towards the back?
Would you like to do that?
Yes, I would.
All right. So easy enough. There is a sort of a cleared space. It's a bit larger than an alleyway. Sort of around, there are a number of buildings that surround the watch station. And then there's this kind of large, spacious alleyway space between the walls of the watch station and these surrounding buildings. It's not well lit back there, but it does seem to be clean and uncluttered and, no lurking like muggers or anything back there as far as you can tell. Right around it'd be like, muggers around the police station. Probably not
Right.
probably not going to happen. So you kind of walk back there, and you get around to the point that's opposite the front door, and there is a small sort of booth. If you think of like a booth at like a parking garage, that kind of an idea,
Mhm.
around on the back side, and you can see that there's no glass, but there are shutters on each side, and you see the inside on a small wooden stool is one single Appian guardsman, just sitting there. He's got a spear propped up against the wall, and he's got his right hand kind of idly holding on to the haft of the spear. And there's not this. It's a wide enough space. This alleyway, this kind of glorified alleyway that you're walking down, is wide enough and unobstructed enough that you turn the corner and he immediately sees you. So there's no he can see you just as soon as you turn the corner.
Yep.
He kind of perks up a little bit, just kind of watches you. He's just kind of looking at you. Doesn't say anything.
Auntie, this guy will work. I walk up to him.
Hey, what can I do for you?
Evening, I think. So I was instructed to come to the guard tower to report some possibly dead fishermen and a boat that capsized and was eaten by a big thing that had this tooth.
Oh
And
what in the
right?
nine hells is that?
And a fire-faced crab. And I don't know who I'm supposed to be talking to, but you look like you know things. Can you help me?
Bring that closer here. He reaches back into the booth that he's sitting in and pulls out a lantern, a lit lantern that it must have been on a hook or something. He reaches back out of sight, pulls it out, and kind of holds it up over his head. Bring that over closer.
All right, I do so.
And kind of hold that up. That appears to be a real shark's tooth, but I have never seen one that big before. All right. So you said a boat capsized and people are dead?
I think so.
All right. All right, come with me. And he stands up, comes out of the booth, and he walks over, and there's kind of like a gate, like a trellised gate right next to the booth. And it's got, you see now, it's got a padlock on it. And he reaches into a pouch at his belt, pulls out a key, puts it into the padlock, click, opens it up, pulls the padlock off, swings the gate open, sticks his head in. Oi! Escort this gnome to the captain's office. I believe he'll be wanting to hear what he has to say. You kind of hear this muffled response from inside. You can't quite make out what was said, but you hear sort of a muffled voice say something from inside. And the original guardsman that was in the booth, right in there, they'll get you situated. It's a real busy night here, so I can't say how soon we're gonna get around to your business, but this will be the best way for you to go forward.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, if it sounds like the information you got is as important as that tooth indicates, we'll be wanting to get that story out of you. All right, good luck.
Thanks, man.
Go inside. You hear him close the gate and reattach the padlock on the other side. You just walk a couple of steps forward, and there's another guardsman standing there. This one's got a sword at his belt. Well, this way. And he leads you down a couple of hallways, twists and turns, and eventually you're seated in what appears to be someone's office. There is a large fur-covered, basically a sofa, for lack of a better word. It's a sitting area, and it's covered with actual furs. You would guess from what you can tell, it looks like bear fur. And the entire room is wood paneled, large wooden desk at one end, and right behind the wooden desk is the wall is on the wall is mounted a large oil painting, and it appears to be a mountainscape with a number of like elk and large antlered animals of that sort kind of wandering around in this high mountain meadow. It's an interesting piece. You've never seen one that large, and the art style is definitely different than anything you've seen before. I'm trying to think what knowledge skill would apply to this. I'm going to say roll. You don't have Arcana, do you?
I don't think so.
Just roll a
religion.
Religion's not quite what I'm looking for. Just roll a straight intelligence check.
I'm gonna use my other luck points and get a 13 instead of a 1.
Yeah, the best you can tell. So it's not a completely realistic painting style. It's got a strange sort of in the real world you would call it almost a cartoony aspect to it. So it's not intended to be realistic, and it's not intended to be abstract. It's kind of almost comic booky is what you would call it if it were in real life. So it's different. It's not something that you've ever really encountered yourself personally before. And that dominates the room. There are a couple of small bookshelves with a few books on them. Most of what's on the bookshelves appear to be files with a combination of notebooks and like loose pages of paper. And you can kind of see the edges of handwritten notes, kind of with this sort of almost illegible handwriting scrawled all over them. And yeah, that's where you're seated currently.
Anyone here?
Nobody here currently.
Could I walk towards the painting to see if there's like an artist mark about who the painting was done by without looking shady and seedy?
Without looking like you're trying to rob the place or anything?
Yeah. I mean, like if it's far away and I have to go out of my way to go there, I just wanted to see if I could see the who did it.
You can definitely get closer. To really get close, you would have to go behind the desk, which might, if somebody were to,
I'm good.
If somebody were to walk in, that might look a little shady. But yeah, you could try and get closer. Make a perception check.
I'm gonna use my last luck point. Forget it. I got a 5.
Okay. Yeah, you don't notice anything. You don't notice anything particularly that stands out.
Yeah. Yep. My dice hate me now. So what I get for getting above 15 for like 2 sessions? All ones.
All right.
It's cool.
It's
It's cool.
it's a really interesting painting. You just aren't able to glean any more information about it.
I'm gonna make myself a mental note because I'm probably gonna talk to somebody that is behind this desk at some point. I want to make a note to see if I can find that information.
About the painting.
I'm curious now.
Okay.
I feel like one of the things that I was sent here for may have been some very interesting things are coming through town. And though I was raised in an area that was kind of a little bit secluded for me because I wasn't paying attention, this could be a thing that is unusual. You know what I mean?
All right.
I mean, nobody smuggles paintings, right? It's not what anybody does.
I mean, you've heard of people smuggling paintings before. It's something that happens. You specifically were supposed to look for more of things that fall under crafting and tinkering types of things. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you've heard of art smuggling before. That's something that exists.
Yep.
I mean, not that you're like plugged into the underworld or anything like that, but yeah, you've heard of it.